Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Aarna Sahu, host of Aarna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today on episode 89.
Taking pride in yourself today. Are you advocating for yourself in the classroom? Are you advocating for other people when you're standing in a group and someone in the group is speaking horribly about another individual? Are you standing up for them? And then for your future self 10 years from now, what are you doing now to prepare you for that? Are you getting smart with your money? Are you teaching yourself the things that you need to know that will help you then? Are you?
Today, on episode 89, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Dr. Dora Renaud. She has been a strong STEM advocate for student equity and success over the span of her career, and has held leadership positions in the STEM field both in nonprofit and in public education for over 25 years, and is currently the CEO of Bossa Ed International. She currently serves as senior advisor and plays an integral part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers leadership team as a senior director of academics, where she supervised the K-12 programs, scholarships, and university partnerships. Dora earned her doctorate in education administration from the Cooperative Superintendency Program at the University of Texas at Austin in 2014. So thank you so much, Dora, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. Thank you for having me here. And again, I just want to say how proud I am of you and the work, the impact you're making on your community and nationwide as well with this incredible program you have. So thank you for having me. A little bit about myself. I started my STEM journey as a principal of an elementary school when I was tasked with transforming the school into a STEM school. And so I didn't know anything about STEM or what it was. And so I had to learn all about it, research it, find the right partners, and bring them in and help us through that journey. And it was through those partners and that journey that I began my STEM advocacy. And then from there, I went on to be a principal, middle school, high school, and then went over to SHPE, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and was able to make an impact with STEM nationwide. It was 13,000 engineering students at 250 universities, where I was in the role of senior director of academic programs and professional development, and building relationships with universities and making sure that our engineering students had everything they needed to finish their program, to find their dream job. And then after that, I was able to join a really unique startup, the Papaya Tutor, and which is, engineering computer science students who are at the university level, who are tutoring high school, middle school students in their math. And so again, it was partnering with school districts to help students find their STEM identity, to say, yeah, I'm good at math, I can make, because that's usually the barrier there. So was able to do that. And then from there, I started my own consulting company, which is Bossa Ed International Consulting, where I help nonprofits, for-profits, school districts through their STEM journeys, and so here we are today.
I love that. I mean, you started your journey as a principal, and your STEM journey was a little bit different from, what you probably had planned for you. And then you started doing things you truly loved. So you, worked with other nonprofits, you worked with students, and you expanded your reach. And from there, now you've started your own consulting company and you're helping people in that same target group. So I'm very excited about that. And I love how you found something that you might have not known you would have enjoyed and you just like dug deep and found your passion.
Absolutely.
All right. And my question for you is what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? And do you have any tips to succeed?
I, I'm going to really start with going out and gaining that practical experience. If you supplement your academic studies with internships, field trips, volunteer work, get to know that career that you want to go into, try it out before investing too much of your career life, of your school life into that study. I mean, that, going out, there are so many companies that I've worked with at SHIP that welcome visits from high school kids, from college kids to come in and check it out, come and see it, apply for some of those internships, volunteer through SHIP, through or any nonprofit, any STEM nonprofit out there, and get to know who their corporate partners are. And I mean, that's where I would begin. And then just stay curious and keep learning. STEM fields are constantly evolving, and it's so essential to cultivate a mindset of curiosity and lifelong learning, and just pursue opportunities and professional development. Keep learning, keep teaching yourself instead of focusing on going through Instagram and following things that aren't going to really impact your future. Focus on things that are going to make you better and make your skill set better, enhancing that to in order to stay competitive in the job market. So those are the two main things I would recommend. Um, and then the tip to succeed is to find your superpower. What are you really good at? That I challenge young women so many times to really dig deep within you. What is your personal superpower? I know mine is building relationships. I can build a relationship with superintendents across the nation, with corporate partners. That's my superpower. And so building a strong network is also a tip to succeed. Networking is key to success in any career, and including STEM. I would say, go to conferences, seminars, workshops, continue to grow your network. And most importantly, it's to embrace challenges and failures. In STEM, as in life, challenges and failures are inevitable. You need to embrace them as opportunities to grow and learn. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. And that was my biggest problem was dwelling in the setback instead of, okay, what can I do better next time? How can I grow from it? And use that as motivation to improve yourself. So cultivate that resilience from that is my tip to succeed.
I love that, cultivating your resilience, because often we're always going to find setbacks and we're always going to be, pushed down, but it's how you recover from that and, your determination to succeed thereon. And I think that is so crucial because especially as students, technology is always going to change, but it's always going to be very competitive. So being able to kind of put your 2 feet back up and just have that resilience to want to further your career and further your life and doing something that you truly enjoy, regardless of what like what might happen immediately, because if you do something you truly enjoy, then of course there might be setbacks, but in the long term, you'll have a life that's more fulfilling. And if you kind of see that, then you'll be able to do something you truly enjoy.
Absolutely.
All right. And my question for you is, what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
A common misconception about STEM in general, especially for young women, is that it's only for people who can excel in math and science, and it's that identity, that math identity that we have. For me, when I was in high school, I was scared to death of it. I didn't like my algebra teacher. I didn't connect with her at all. I totally was just separated myself because of the teacher instead of looking for solutions and how I could get better at the math. I took it personally and just said, well, I'm not going to learn anything. I'm just going to sit here and, you know, and, and pout in math class instead of, finding tutors, finding resources in my community on how I could get better. But again, STEM is real. It's not all about that math and science. That's a critical part of it. But it's really about making the world a better place and how you can improve, your own community is what, to me, is what STEM is really about. So with that misconception, I'm going to go back to that my role at Papaya Tutor as vice president of partnerships. I The main thing that I would tell the students and teachers and the school leaders is that if we could just grow that math identity within those students that were like me, frustrated and couldn't, completely scratched anything that was related to math, off my career list, and get over that hurdle, get better at it, get over that fear, and really master it at a young age. You've got to master that math and science early on. We've got to get them the tutors, even YouTube videos. There's so many resources to go and figure it out a different way. I would always go in as a principal. I would go into every classroom and tell the students, you raise your hand when you don't understand something. You voice it. If you don't voice it, their teacher's going to keep going. Oh, they got it, and you need to advocate for your own education. I haven't learned this yet. I need to learn it because I'm going to be an engineer later in life. I'm going to be, a doctor, and I need to know it now. So can you say it in a different way? I'm not getting it. So help me get it. So speak up, advocate for yourself. So that to me is the most common myth about STEM careers, is that math and science.
Absolutely. And it goes back to like the setbacks and being able to kind of put, your glue your feet back on, like try to, I don't know the phrase, but put your 2 feet back up. And it just goes back to show that even though you might be down in the dumps and something might go wrong, you can always kind of get over it and circumnavigate in order to like reroute yourself. And I think that is so important because we're all going to mess up, one way or another, and we can't foresee that. But the ability to kind of just like get back on track and try to continue is something very, very important. And not a lot of people know because we all think that, okay, once things go bad, we'll stop. But in reality, you can always continue and push on.
And I'm going to add a little more to that. Thinking about affirmations are so important these days. And when you say to yourself, I can do hard things, I can figure this out. I just need a couple of resources, a little bit of help, but I can do hard things. So I would love for, all the young ones out there to say that over and over again. I can do hard things with help.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes to show that, like, even if you don't think you can make it, so long as you kind of fake it till you make it, it's very, very true. Because even if you might not have that mentality now, if you keep on saying these affirmations and repeat it to yourself, then, like, you are slowly gravitating towards that type of mentality. And it's a much better one than if you where you are today. So even if you don't believe in what you're saying, so long as you say it, you will slowly manifest it. And there's a huge power to that.
Absolutely. I
All right.
totally get it. Yeah,
No, yeah, there's a huge power to it, and I think it's really underestimated. But once you start saying it, you slowly believe it, and it's super, super powerful.
absolutely.
And if you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Um, how how are you preparing the next generation of young STEM leaders or young STEM females?
Okay. Yeah, I mean I really like that. It's really introspective. Because I really like what you said over there because we all think about trying to better ourselves. Like, 10 years down the line, I want to be at a specific title, I want to be at a specific industry, and I want to have this many, like, I don't know, these many salaries or whatever. But we all think about, like, like, instead of thinking about how other people can be benefited from us, we think we just think about ourselves. So with, like, all of the education, with all of the knowledge that we get, how can you better help, the next generation of minorities, the next generation of girls interested in STEM, and trying to uplift something that is much greater than you with the resources that you have at hand.
Yeah. So I've been um, asked to come and speak to different groups of young women throughout my own community, and I tell them about the 3 points of pride. You need to take pride in your family's journey. I'm talking about your grandparents, great grandparents, and then taking pride in yourself today, and then taking pride in your future self 10 years from now. So there's so many kids today that don't know their family's journey. They don't know what struggles their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents went through to get them to where they are today. And it's so important to know that journey, to know, what's go and ask the oldest living woman in your family. What was school like at your age? What were the things that you struggled through to really understand where your family comes from? And then in your taking pride in yourself today, are you advocating for yourself in the classroom? Are you advocating for other people when you're standing in a group and someone in the group is speaking horribly about another individual? Are you standing up for them? And then for your future self 10 years from now, what are you doing now to prepare you for that? Are you getting smart with your money? Are you teaching yourself the things that you need to know that will help you then? Are you learning about finances? Um, don't leave it up to your husband to worry about the finances. You need to know it. You need to start saving today. Even in high school, you start learning about investing and you know things like that. But also, what are you doing to prepare? Are you even teaching yourself getting over barriers, through the math, whatever those struggles you are, and really honing in on that superpower I was talking about, because that is going to help you in your future self 10 years from now. Going through finding ways to de-stress, taking time to meditate, taking time to breathe, eating healthy, all of that will impact yourself your 10 years from now.
Yes. And something I want to add there is that when we think of advocating for people, we think about it like outside of school, like outside, in like the busy world. But one of the best ways that we can learn about advocating for people is for advocating for ourselves. Like as you said in the classroom, like just raising your hand when you're confused, telling your teacher that like someone's bothering you and you want to switch seats. Like that is like one of the core principles of advocating, and that comes to advocating for yourself. It doesn't always have to be like in a conflict outside of school, or it doesn't have to be at home, but it can also be in the classroom where we like spend majority of our time in, even as students. So advocating can come in so many different forms, but like the best way to learn it is to be kinder to yourself and to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely. Advocacy is so key today.
Absolutely. And my question for you is, what are the best resources and books that have helped you find your career path?
For the resources, I would definitely say think of some important podcasts. If you don't have time to read a book, then listen to some podcasts on the way to school, on the way home. Anything that will lift you up, that will give you pointers. Find some female STEM leaders to listen to, some important podcast. But if you're looking, for a leadership book, one that really hit me was Leadership on the Line. It was Staying Alive Through the Dangers of Leading, which was by Marty Linsky. And it's a book that explores adaptive leadership, with different situations, and it provides tools for navigating complex challenges. And so that book really helped me a lot as an educational leader, with all the issues that I dealt with.
I love that. I mean, like all of these books, they are so important, but like the thing that's really amazing about them is that you can definitely apply them to real life. Like of course, as you're flipping the pages, you might take notes, but what's amazing is that you can always apply it to like a situation you might encounter with those principles. So that's why books are very, very important to read.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, what do you think is a vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it, and what was your life after learning it?
I think the vital factor that shaped my career was, I didn't start off saying I'm going to be an advocate for STEM, for women in STEM. I never said it. It just grew. It just happened. So, it's important to stand up for what you believe in. And so the more that I worked in that space, I had the platform. I was invited to a lot of panels at the national level to speak up, to, help get rid of barriers and challenges for the next generation. But we really need to think about um, multiplying your voice, making your purpose more focused and more impactful. And advocacy really, it promotes change when you think about it. Voicing for the voiceless. Another thing I advocate. I'm a big advocate for dogs on the euthanasia list. The top 10. There's always the top 10 dogs, and so and that's another huge passion of mine, is finding fosters and rescues for the dogs on the euthanasia list. But that advocacy is just so critical. And through that advocacy, you can build partnerships, you address inequities in the STEM arena and the STEM careers. I mean, I remember meeting female engineers that worked in the petroleum field, that they would set up camps for the engineers to be out there, but they would only allow the men to stay on the camps. The women had to drive like an hour to get to a hotel, so they would have to wake up and drive in the dark. It's an inequity, and so just thinking of things like that. So
I mean, I love that. You found like inequities. Like my family, we're really into like advocacy for like animals as well. But like with the story you just said about like how the women in the petroleum field had to set up camps for like the engineers, but not for themselves, for guys, and they had to drive hours away. That is insane. And it just really just has to go to show that there are inequities like everywhere in the world. But like it's up to us to like fix that and just advocate for the problems we see.
Absolutely.
And my last question before we end off is what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
Let's see. So I would advise, anyone starting their career in STEM to, really proactively seek out networking opportunities, attend conferences, join professional organizations, engage with online communities and social media groups relevant to your field. I wish I had known those opportunities were out there. All these nonprofits that have tons of money for scholarships. I mean, that's, a huge barrier for getting into your career. So really search that out. Invest time and effort into building relationships early on, and have a significant impact on your professional growth and success in STEM, and really, you know, take time to grow yourself professionally, physically, mentally. All of those components are so important that I wish I had known when I started my career.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Dora, for being on the show. Before we end off, do you have any last words to the audience?
Um, that every there to every barrier there is a solution. So continue pushing through these barriers, continue searching out for solutions, find your network, find those, continue to build your network so that you have those resources to help you get through those hurdles, those barriers, in order to get to your dream job. And really, it's not just about the job, but it's about being an advocate in your community and really making an impact.
Well, thank you so much, Dora. I absolutely love talking to you, and I hope you have the best rest of your day.
You too. Thank
Bye
you for
bye.
having me.
And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Dora. 1. Career exploration and real world insights. Engage in volunteer work and internships to allow you to gain firsthand experience in a field of interest, which helps you understand the day to day realities of the profession, identify if it aligns with your interests and values, and make an informed decision about whether to pursue it long term or not. 2. Contribution to community and future impact. Through volunteering and internships, you can contribute to the community and build skills that will be valuable to your own career, but also to help others in the present, but also prepares you to be a more effective and empathetic professional in the future. And 3rd, personal and professional integrity. Stand up for what you believe in, whether though it may be choosing a career aligned with your values or advocating for causes during your academic experiences as well. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Zito, you're listening to Aarna Sahu, the host of Aarna's News. Toodles!